How you doing out there? We are back on the Clubhouse this morning. Fernando Valencia, how are you, brother?
What is up, SC? It has been quite a morning. I am checking us out on Clubhouse as we are, committing to ludicrous levels because that's what we do here. We certainly don't do anything small. Anytime we do anything, it's like all big thunderbolts everywhere. And I am grateful to be sharing another Why Wednesday Huddle with you and all the fine folks in this movement.
Yeah, grateful to everybody in the ecosystem. And we're talking about this morning. I can't think of anything like it. The level of commitment around a higher vibration from people about what it is that we're doing and where it's going. Leaders leading leaders to merge ecosystems to make the world an even greater place. I dropped it in the Unblinded Elite chat this morning. If you're interested in having a conversation about doing something together, hosting something with Unblinded next week on Clubhouse, let us know. And you know what, Fernando? Let's have the team. Let's have that whole text system worked out by tomorrow, so we can just start saying wherever we go, hey, if you want to do a thing, text here, right? Let's make a frictionless access to doing stuff. So let's get that set up. But for today, if somebody's interested in doing something, you can drop it in the chat or and by the way, that's like an alignment call around it because we're going to set some criteria up, but we're launching something next week with a great amount of intensity. And I want to lean into, we've been not true at all. We haven't gotten around to this combined HUI story, right? Of the merging of ecosystem value, the merging of identity. And what I want to lean into in service of you, in service of this entire ecosystem, in service of each other, is how when we come together, we accelerate our combined identity, and how often people have a scarcity versus abundant mindset about how they go about doing things like that. But not only a scarcity instead of abundant mindset, I think folks don't see what they don't see about the power of how merging ecosystems in different ways elevates the heroic, unique identity that you have. And by elevating your heroic, unique identity, you create a very different ability to raise your ecosystem value. So let's again refresh, what is ecosystem value as we define it here? Every one of you have an ecosystem value as you're on this call. There's numbers that you could be measured by in a variety of different ways. You could measure your income. You could measure your net worth. You can calculate your future potential net worth. And you can calculate your level of influence mastery and where you rank in the world. You could calculate also your ecosystem value and many, many other things. Like you could measure your oxygen level. You can measure your pulse. So even if you're not present to the fact that you have a pulse rate, that you have an oxygen level, you could even get a little bit more specific and measure your CO2 level. You can measure vitamin levels. You can measure all kinds of things. You can measure how many times you blink per hour. You can measure your heart rate after doing 5 minutes of speaking. Like there's all sorts of things that are numerically occurring in and around you that you're not present to, that we're not typically present to, right? Imagine how crazy we would go if we're present to all these different numbers, like how many times you blink in a minute, and I may have made you slightly crazy as you start counting your blinks, right? So all that's happening. What's also happening is you have skill levels, you have rating levels of your influence process and self-mastery, and some of these numbers are much more important than others, right? Like your heart rate's pretty important. If your heart rate starts going askew, big problem. If your oxygen level just fluctuates a bit, it's like time to go to the ER. What we're not present to is that if our influence mastery level is below a certain number, it's going to dramatically impact our money, time, and magic, but we're just not like present to these things. So ecosystem value, which most of us are not present to as well, is the measure of who you know, who knows you, and the friction, the cost in generating a relevant yes from those people, like what would it cost you in friction cost, in money, time, and magic to get to a relevant yes with those people. So, for example, right, a question of ecosystem value would be, what would it cost you to get Oprah to say that your book, that you are the next Dr. Phil, that your book is amazing, that you're amazing? What would it cost you? So for Tony Robbins, it costs him nothing. She said it. She said it a lot, right? Now, a different question would be, what would it cost Tony Robbins for Oprah to endorse Tony Robbins' Next Date with Destiny seminar? That's a different question. So it's the relevant yes that you're seeking. And so for each of us, the question will become, hey, what would it cost you to have that done and said by Oprah? For Rob Gill, a question was, hey, what's the friction of having Chris Crone say, Rob, come on my stage, share amazing educational value, and then make a call to action with sheets that are in people's seats to be filled out. And then we'll start doing follow-up YouTube videos at a certain interval together and sharing that people should have a certain complimentary review. Like, what is the friction of that? And the friction of that was Rob going from hello to yes with me and me having the relationship with Chris. So the cost for Rob, once he had the relationship with me, to have that occur with Chris became much lower. The cost before he had a yes from me, a relevant yes, and that I would say something to Chris about, hey, you should talk to Rob. Before he had the relationship with me, the friction from him to go to Chris would have been extraordinarily higher. Okay. Now, if that becomes slightly confusing, that's okay. The key distinction is understanding that as you not just quote connect, it is not just about connection. Oh, I added LinkedIn connections. I have Facebook friends. I have Instagram followers. That's very different than, can you communicate with those people and the things you would like to have them say yes to, they're going to say yes to. So if you have 5,000 friends on Facebook and you wanted to get 50 people together tomorrow, what would it cost you to do that? How much would it cost you? For Tony Robbins, it would cost him calling somebody and going, hey, I want 50 people assembled in 10 seconds. And by the way, I want them to be in this demographic. That would take an hour, right? What would it cost you to do that? What would it cost you to assemble the right group of clients, the optimal avatars in front of you so you can present something to them and have a call to action for a sale? That's what's at stake that maybe we're not present to. And that's why I say things that may sound a little bit like, bold statements when I say that random networking is not much different from going onto the high seas and in the Caribbean. Let's go off of Brittany's Buck Island, and we start looking around the British Virgin Islands, the Sir Francis Drake Pass, or the Drake Passage, and just drop an anchor and start digging for or searching for buried treasure, or to just randomly look for sunken ships. The likelihood that would still have treasure, the likelihood of that working out is obviously ridiculously low, is not an optimal strategy. And that's why we say that networking is not an optimal strategy. Your heroic unique identity is not preset. The randomness of who you meet and how optimal they are or not as avatars is not set. And I want to make a bold statement right now. And I've suggested this, I've never said it. What I want to challenge you to do for the next year is to actually, for the next 3 months, is not go anywhere as a random networker, to not go anywhere as a random networker. And that means the following: show up if you want to show up to learn. So attend a seminar to learn. Don't attend a seminar hoping to randomly meet people. No random networking. Instead, your commitment is, if I'm not going to go to learn, if I'm not going to learn, I'm only going if it's an intentionally set up group like my 10 by 10, I'll go to that. It's not random networking. If you're 10 by 10 instead of optimally, it should be insane value. We haven't circled back to that yet because the 10 by 10s are not functioning optimally. We haven't touched those in months, right? And I'm not going unless I'm speaking. So you're not going somewhere unless you are the speaker. If you're a speaker, then you go. If you're a student, then you go. If you're not, then you don't go. So you could be a student, and that part of your studentness could be gaining inspiration, motivation, no problem. All good. We need energy infused into us. I need energy infused into me, Fernando into him, Adam into him, you into you. So like infusion of energy is present, equals fine. But let's also think about the timing of how much time we invest in infusing energy into ourselves, because our time is a resource. Bottom line, right, is we're only going for speaking because then we're elevating our heroic unique identity. We're elevating our ecosystem value when we're a speaker, because we'll meet new people, merge new ecosystems, and decrease the friction between us and a relevant yes. I was speaking to Michael Smythe the other day, and we had a little bit of fun, and we're joking a bit. And he was saying, "Hey, I had 5 ecosystem mergers today." I'm like, "You definitely did not have 5 ecosystem mergers today." So when I lean back into, and I'm going to go back into elevating one another's HUI and ecosystem value through laddering, but I want to drop it in this note. An ecosystem merger is not saying, "Hey, I made a connect. Oh, wow, I really like you a lot. Yeah, if I see somebody who needs your services, then I'll refer you." That is a person you're connected with that knows you at some level. There could be a very small marginal increase in your ecosystem value, but there's nothing sticky. There's nothing planned to occur. So what will happen is over time, these things will massively dissipate energetically, because there's there's no process in place to make sure that something occurs because of it. So an ecosystem merger is a specific agreement about a thing, but it doesn't have to be a huge agreement about the doing of a thing. If there was an ecosystem merger last night that occurred when Annie came on, right? Annie came on, we had a conversation around what she's doing. So Annie got value where she had an extended coaching / intervention session. Unblinded benefited because Annie shared the HUI of Unblinded in spaces and places and ways that may not be present to you. So that was a small micro ecosystem merger. It was an exchange of value with a specified occurrence in front of human beings. And the value for the audience was to lean in and learn things from what was transpiring and occurring about thinking, breaking through fear, all the things we covered, as well as, right, as well as also learning about just from observation what other people know and are thinking about Unblinded. And that's like the drop-in point. You know, if I were to say to you, let's go with, let's get, by the way, Adam, let's come forward. So Adam, if I were to say to you, and in fact, I said it this morning about the elevation of heroic unique identity. And okay, let's pause. Like clear your brain, write this down. Okay. During your ECD time, when you're going through the 18, and when you get to heroic unique identity, HUI, I'm going to give you an assignment. When you get to your HUI and you're going to rate yourself on how effectively you conveyed it, also be rating yourself on how well you innovated that day on elevating your HUI. And what I mean by innovation is I mean by how you sat back and said, "Hey, what assets have we newly acquired? And how have I integrated that into conveying my HUI?" Because I am confident that there's some suboptimal dynamics around elevating your ecosystem value, elevating your HUI that are present. So I'm going to speak into that for a second. Okay. So let's do it. Let's do it in a little example with Adam. So Adam.
The answer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, brother. And let's have Bella and Fernando ready to rock and roll too. You guys both. Bella, you, unmuted or no? I was there. All right, we'll drop in team in a second. So, Adam, what are the 10 things? We're gonna play a game, right? Actually, let's go first with what is the HUI of Unblinded? In 20 seconds, 10 seconds, what would you say?
That we are the number one leading professional personal development training organization in the country. We grew from nothing a year ago to that spot today.
Okay. So, Fernando, what would you say is the HUI of Unblinded?
We are the talent hotbed on the acquisition and creation of heart-centered leaders who are going to charge and march to help people make more money in less time with more magic.
Okay. Now, get ready for some scatomas, team, everybody out there, about your HUI. What I am fully present to is that people are in love with their words versus the takeaway effect that the other person has. Like, what is the other person taking away? And we talk about this fundamental concept that influence is our ability to have a thought, a message in our head, convey it to another person, have it accepted and acted upon. Message from us to other person, accepted and acted upon. So I've seen some people go, hey, I've worked really hard on my HUI. I've worked really hard. I want to share it with you. That presupposes that your HUI is about the words you're saying. Now, the words you're saying are relevant, but the only thing that matters is what the other person is receiving about you. And the outcome that you're seeking is they find you to be congruently unique. So they are curious initially, congruently unique, so they're curious. And that progresses to they want to say yes to what you want them to say yes to in integrity. So, and those things don't come from concepts, they don't come from logic, it comes from feeling. So your HUI is about the feelings that you're creating in the other person. They're an extension of the emotional rapport that has been created. So your HUI is designed, once they like you, feel open, feel by you, I see you, I hear you, what I say matters to you. Like they feel that you're saying to them, I see you, I hear you, what you say matters. Once that's there, they're looking for some things to hang their hat on. And this is why we get so confused when we have somebody who's really excited, likes us, and they're going to like promote things are going to be great. And then they can't because they don't have the ability to do what you did, which is this is why affiliate marketing fails. This is why networking fails, because there's not a structured dynamic to create elevation over time. Because if Craig B is super excited about Unblinded and it's 11 months ago, and Craig B is talking to somebody and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it. And then Craig B comes back and goes, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong because they don't get it. Like, I don't know. And you're telling me how to say it and it's not working. And the issue really is that the emotions are not being conveyed to the person's like, listen, I don't know what this is exactly. I don't care, but I know it's good for me and I'm going to make more money, less time, more magic. I don't need to know anything else because I feel it. I feel it. People make their decisions on feelings, not logic. So in all of our messaging and all of our communication, all of our rising of our HUI, We're looking to create feelings. And new creates feelings. New, write it down, new creates feelings. If I don't keep coming up with new ways to say the same stuff, then everybody's going to disappear, even though you'd be crazy to disappear, because the formula is the greatest formula, period. But if we say formula, real raw, then all of a sudden, even though it's true, it's like John Wooden saying fundamentals, layups, passing. It's all true. Rising your mastery, it's a talent hotbed. Just do what I'm saying every single day, you'll win. Nothing happens eventually. And that's why the great coaches, we're going to lean into the talent code in the next couple of days again, a bit, in a 10-minute excerpt. It's because the great coaches, the masters of influence, Tony Robbins, Oprah, they may tell some of the same stories, but they know how to inject energy and feelings at the appropriate moments and times to make sure that people are saying yes and they're doing the things, and they're injecting new and variance, because those things are necessary to get to the yes. To the extent to which you're feeling massively overwhelmed and say, okay, what do I do? Just tell me what to do. Outstanding. That's why I want you in that position, because I've opened listening. And the opening of listening is about this. The takeaways for today. Your HUI isn't something written in stone. And in fact, you should have an infinite number of ways to convey it, because if you have one way to convey it or two, you're going to get bored out of your mind conveying it. So in your ECD time in the morning, you're constantly looking for new and innovative dynamics. And those new and innovative dynamics are not just things you've done. They're things done by people that you're connected to. And those things, those new things, the extent to which they can relate in some way to your HUI, are incredibly valuable for you. Watch this, okay? So Adam, tell me something that happened in the past week that can become a part of elevating your HUI that wasn't done by a direct employee of Unblinded in any way, but helps elevate Unblinded's HUI. And for bonus points, make it kind of far away and distant.
Yeah. I had one, I had two, I got five. They keep popping in my head from just last week.
So go ahead.
The alignment call we talked about this morning, but if you want to talk about...
Tell me about it. What happened?
So I spoke to somebody who came off of a Real Raw. They are a pharmaceutical rep that actually sells a non-pharmaceutical pain reliever. And they came on a Real Raw filled with doctors that was set up by Brent in our movement, who owns a franchise, Physical Therapy Now. And she came off so blown away, so excited for the call. She couldn't believe all the doctors that were there. And what really blew her mind was that one of the doctors that were there is her client that she's never been able to speak to in person. And she was so excited that she finally got to build a relationship with him and to build a relationship with new doctors that she had an opportunity to. And she cannot wait to invite people back to the next Real Raw so she can add people and continue to build, these relationships with Brent, Physical Therapy Now, and other doctors.
Perfect example. Everybody here can use that story, everybody, as a part of the HUI, first, of your Real Raw, but second, your HUI. And you could say, hey, you know what I've learned? I've learned that every relationship, every acceleration in business is built on a relationship. I've learned that every relationship is created from shared experience. And the question is, how do you create the most efficient, least cost and money, time, energy, the resources that we have? How can we create those shared experiences at the least money, time, and energy that have the most impact and value? I learned that from studying it at Unblinded, and I've been implementing that. And so, those guys over there, and by the way, at Unblinded, that's the guy, Sean Callaghan, that speaks on Tony Robbins' stage, built 40-person law firm, craziest stories about no paid advertising, no leveraging of digital online in all these different ways to create these things. And like, I want to give this to you, Johnny Mary, as a part of what is essential. It works. Do you understand what I'm saying, Johnny Mary? So what you would have done in that moment is you would have elevated your HUI. Your HUI gets elevated because first, you're teaching them something they don't know. You're citing a source and sources and saying you're a part of a thing that you're like, whoa, you're part of that thing? That's cool. Or I don't even know what that is, but it sounds like you're part of a thing that's like got stuff going on. So, wow, I'm attracted to you because you're bringing something new to me and you're part of a thing. Maybe that's the thing I want to be part of. I don't want to miss out. Talk to me more. Curiosity. So as you share new things in HUI, you create curiosity. Does that land, Fernando? Speak into that.
It does. And I'm actually thinking about, an early lesson I learned early on when, I won't say names, if somebody was like, yeah, but I want to talk about, like, for example, my accounting services. Like, why would I talk about this versus my accounting services? And in my head, it was like, because accounting is boring. And that was like a huge dilemma. Like, Fernando, you can't say that. I'm like, but it's true. Accounting's boring.
No, listen, I'm leaning. This is not disparaging. Like in the beginning, other leadership on blind, it's like, you can't tell somebody what they're talking about is boring. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? What are you talking about? It is boring. And we're lying to them if we say it's not boring. And what's attractive is what we're talking about. So it's objectively wrong to say that. Because the only thing that matters is the listening of the other person. They don't care about your accounting services. They care about how much they can benefit from knowing you. And if they can also benefit from your accounting services, all the better. But they want to know all the ways they can benefit from you, including feeling happier by talking to you, feeling heard by talking to you. And then we'll get to accounting services. That's like an add-on at the end. And that's why I ran around doing practice mastery and other events for all those years for doctors. And I didn't have to do much. I would just go, I would deliver the formula. People would be like, I love that guy. And then they'd say, yeah, of course I want you to help us with our legal stuff and collecting money from insurance companies that are unpaid. That's the idea. So Fernando, back to you for final on that.
Yeah, no, thank you for taking it home. And I guess to tie it into a shiny bow and final, it is the outcome of HUI is curiosity and gravitational pull. And it's not about selling your products or services. Like, one of the things I say on strategy sessions is that most people's ask and value proposition sounds something like this. Hi, my name is blank. I'm an expert in blank, and I'd like to have a 30-minute conversation about blank. Want. That's what most people sound like. They probably add fancier words, but something like, hey, I run one of the fastest growing speaking engagements, and I hand select a couple individuals just like you to partner with. The non-attachment, the integrous scarcity, everything that's present in that one sentence is way more interesting than saying, hey, I'm an accountant, I'm an expert in tax strategy, and I want to give you a 30-minute tax analysis. Like, that's just as boring.
Yeah, and absolutely, brother. And pause because somebody might go, well, that sounds a little salesy. It does. And then you interrupt and go, listen, I know that sounds perhaps salesy, but do you understand that all business is accelerated through the creation of relationship? Like, huh? No, seriously. And lean in until there's agreement. And then do you realize that to create a relationship, you need shared experience? Like, how did you meet yours? Do you have a significant other? Do you have partners? Think of the people in your life. Don't ask a question they can say no to. Do you have people in your life that you care about? Yes. Didn't you have a shared experience to build it with them? Name one. Well, yeah, of course. Right? And then, of course, every shared experience, sir, ma'am, costs resources. There's only 3 resources: money, time, energy, right? Yes. That's it, right? We'll think. No, like, seriously think. Is there anything else that goes in a different category? Money, time, energy. Well, I guess you could say a different way. Yeah, but that would be energy, right? That would be, oh yeah, okay, great. So it's relationship, shared experience, cheapest way, money, time, energy. That's what you're looking for, correct? Like you get 5 people to an island. Yeah. All this is a shared experience that you didn't have to assemble. Why wouldn't you do this if you want more money, time, magic? Pause. When you say that, the way you say it, the uniqueness of having a framework of communication about that which is true also elevates your HUI. Then you go, and by the way, one of my people that I'm like connected to and Unblinded is like Ken Van Loo. He built the Modern Wealth Builder. What's that? Oh, it's an amazing thing. And this guy, Dolph DeRoos, and he's spoken on stages all over the world. This guy, Neil Gupta, he has friends that own private islands. You're like, wait, what? You're part of a group of people like this? Yeah. Wait, these are people that are like on stage you can't connect with, right? Like, no, I mean, I actually communicate with all of these people. Really? Yeah. And there's like Patricia, and she works at Disney as an executive, and you know, the guy that runs it, Sean, and crazy stories, top jury. This guy, Adam Gugino, $750 million company. You know, Fernando Valencia, unbelievable, like a $1 million company at 21 years old. Adam, by the way, walked away from millions of dollars to do this. They are curious about you. That's how you raise your HUI. That's how you have people say yes and want to come on to speak with you, co-create with you, do I bring 5, you bring 5 with you onto your speaking platform. That's what HUI is. First, it opens listening because you're congruently unique, right? Your words, vocal qualities, body language align. You're opening listening, they're curious. And then eventually they accept, have enough logical bases to go, yep, let's go. Right? Annie, last night, Fernando was like, Annie's amazing, but like, do you know her that well that you just introduce her to like the Lions like that? And I stopped. I'm like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Good point, Fernando. Maybe, you know, that was a little bit of a shaky boundary dynamic, but here's what happened. Annie had an HUI that said she went to Wharton. I know what that means. And Annie had overcome what she overcame and moved to this country from China. She didn't speak the language. Her story is dynamic and incredible. She works in investment banking. She left because of integrity issues or, you know, cultural dynamics to experience something more heart-centered and amazing and accelerated with different kinds of people. So I accepted her HUI rapidly. That's all that happened. And initially I was like, wow, what a story. She was congruently unique, so I was curious. And I'm like, yeah, there's enough logic here to do that. It was emotional. It's not really logical. I mean, Annie's amazing and wonderful, right? But like, I don't know. That could be all made up. I mean, she could be a serial killer. Annie, I'm of course kidding. But that's how we all make decisions. And that's why Bernie Madoff, this could be used for evil. That's why Bernie Madoff was able to take billions and billions from people. Scott Rothstein, $1 billion, because people don't make logical decisions. So you go, hey, I'm a great accountant. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What they care about is how you make them feel, and they have enough things in your HUI to logically justify it. Fernando, final on that. Like, anchor that in and let's take it home.
On which point, Mr. Halligan?
Just the reality that your HUI is all about how you make people feel. It is not about logically what you say. Because some people create these beautiful sing-songy HUIs that they spent like 4 days on, and that's amazing. But I deliver the HUI in 75 zillion different ways and an infinite number of combinations that would take you like longer than the beginning of time to now, and the variance of combinations that exist. Like, that is fully present in reality. So I want to break people out of the pattern of like your HUI is a thing you say.
Yeah.
It's how you lead people. Good for him.
And to distinguish like some language, HUI is not a unique selling proposition. It's not a mission or vision statement. It's not even a brand. And actually I love this, as this is giving me language. It's a lot more emotional than logical. And the like byproduct is having people see their future in you? When's the last time you read a mission statement? And as amazing as it is, you don't see your future in it. You think the person's amazing, but you don't see yourself in it. When you're sharing the identity of the story and what's happening, you see yourself being part of something. And that has the gravitational pull. And that is like one of the ultimate byproducts of an effective HUI. Back to you.
Final. The enemy of all of this is being made of glass. Like this. I dropped this, which I just sort of did. This is Luke and Yoda, right? What they stand for is like Jedi-ness, mastery, but they're made, right? The way they're made, they're crystal. They drop, they break. Hold on. Play-Doh works very differently. We need to be Play-Doh. We need to be Play-Doh. We need, as Diana, Captain Marvel says, neuroplasticity. We need to be able to learn, assimilate, be fluid, move. And this is why when people go into fake confusion, it's because your thinking is made of glass. Your thinking is made of glass. You get nervous when things change. You get uncertain. You stop acting. Andy Zapata is just an action machine. His brain, his functioning is made of Play-Doh. It's fun. It's just like reshape it. Oh yes, I get it. And the more we increase our Play-Doh-ness versus our glassness, the more we can grow and build. Somebody said, Michael Burnett said it on Monday night about Tony Robbins, said he's never met anybody who's been able to reinvent himself more because Tony Robbins is made of Play-Doh. He is able to think, process, innovate, and he is not attached to how he gets there. Integrously, adding value, but create, recreate, recreate. And that's why somebody who's dealt with some of the most insane obstacles, all kinds of things imaginable in his trajectory of life, including his upbringing, has never-endingly been able to do it. Madonna recreated herself over and over and over. Like it or not, again, Oprah Winfrey has recreated herself in various ways and different dynamics. The more flexible we are in integrating, accelerating, creating newness and curiosity, the more valuable our ecosystem will become and our impact. Our money, time, and magic are massively connected to this concept. Adam.
Sure. No, right on that point, I want to anchor because the other one that I was thinking about was Monday night in that moment when Dawood started talking about what the impact Unblinded is having overseas with 10,000 Black interns. And it brought me right to the moment with David Rush and our agreement call and him saying yes. And that was the heroic, unique identity of influence. That was the heroic, unique identity of Unblinded. That was the heroic, unique identity of David, on all of that combined in that moment and ready to deliver it on the spot because it was what was happening now.
And I know we're going long like every day. And by the way, we have immense things to do. And I am sleeping less, working more continuously, but I can't stop if I feel like there's more value to give in a critical distinction. And we keep like stepping into the next critical distinction and we'll stop shortly. Here's the critical distinction that like has to be brought forward. There is an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, the concept of matching or mismatching. If you are a mismatcher, and I think these things can shift and change, right? But if you're a mismatcher, that's a longer conditioning conversation. But if you're a mismatcher, and I keep interrupting myself, and self-awareness is the first step to changing conditioning. That's why Date with Destiny is so successful and Awaken the Giant Within such a great book, is because you confront all your beliefs, all your values, all your rules, and then you can intentionally reframe them. It's a lot of work, but it's present for you. Like Tony asked the questions, sets it up, and you have the context to create all this reframing. If you're a mismatcher, here's the challenge. When you hear a thing, you perceive it as different and over there, as separate from. And when you do, you lose the relevance, the value of using it and combining it. For example, spread out a bunch of things on a table, right? that could be used as tools to build something if you're on a deserted island to rescue you. If you're creative and innovative, you will take those things and put them together and make lots of stuff. A mismatcher will see all of those assets. We'll call them all assets. Things are assets, words are assets. And by the way, if you're a mismatcher, you're having a difficult time even processing the fact that wait, words are assets? Relationships are assets? No. Assets are money. They're things of tangible value. You're wrong. You're wrong. And you're a mismatcher. And you're going to lose value your entire life because you're made of glass. And you're not seeing how to combine things for acceleration. And I am present to this, and I wasn't until recently. And this is why I now know in my entire life why people are like, I don't get the formula, or I don't understand all this. The real raw, what is this thing? Because that's the language of mismatchers. People made of glass. I'm not making them bad, but they're suboptimal. These are suboptimal thought processes for creating growth. Tony Robbins is made of Play-Doh. Steve Jobs made of Play-Doh. Bill Gates made of Play-Doh. Mark Zuckerberg made of Play-Doh. Like him or not, Donald Trump made of Play-Doh in certain ways and glass in others. Hillary Clinton predominantly made of glass. Bill Clinton made of Play-Doh. The people that accelerate, create, are dynamic, are able to step into the Ronald Reagan made of Play-Doh, was able to take Gorbachev, disrupt his thinking, innovated on the spot in their meeting, and they were at a tense spot. And he stepped back and said, hey, I'm Ron, and restarted the meeting. Gorbachev told that story to Tony Robbins on a private flight for the moments that he was disrupted and all things changed. The Cold War ended because Ronald Reagan, in that moment, disrupted Gorbachev. Now, a lot of other things happened, but that was the beginning of the disruption that opened the pathway to walls coming down in the world. That when I was born, when I was 2 years before, I was at Columbia University, it was an impossibility, and the walls came down. So back to assets on the table, back to Play-Doh. For those, somebody made of glass, they just see like a bunch of unusable stuff, and I'm screwed because I don't have a boat. I don't have weapons. I don't have any way to capture water. I'm going to die. Made of glass. He or she made of Play-Doh goes, wait, I could use that to contain water. I could turn that into a weapon. And hell, man, there's everything here to build a boat. Now the question is, how do I get to the shipping lanes and know where they are? That is somebody made of Play-Doh. That is the thinking of Andy Zapata and many, many of you, but why Andy would just jump and go, right? Made of, and many, many other people here. Many, many people here. And the trick is that we're all made of Play-Doh in certain situations, and we're made of glass in others. And we need to disrupt and find those spaces where we're made of glass and we're not innovating and not accelerating. And this is why Unblinded and you are made for each other. And this is the talent hotbed that it is to give rise to your money, time, and magic. 1, Play-Doh, not glass. 2, dropping more micro. Your HUI can be built and valued with other people and other things, which raises your ecosystem value. This is why there are 7 levers and how they work and how they accelerate you, and why all the people we talked about are where they are, and why there's a gap, because there's opportunity for all of us to do that. Let's co-elevate, and let's do some of it next week on Clubhouse. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. Let us go out to a more fun song. Actually, let's just go with Simply the Best by Tina Turner, because you guys are simply the best. Love yourself. Step into it. Have an amazing day.